Have you ever been in that moment where you send someone a message, and when they don't reply, you send another one and then another one? Each time, you tell yourself it's just a quick follow-up, but deep down, you feel the weight of something shifting. You're not in control anymore. It's like your worth is shrinking with every line you type. You start justifying in your mind. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe if I just explain myself better, they'll understand. But instead of the reply you hope for, all you get is silence on their end and a growing storm of doubt inside you. That's the trap most people fall into, over and over again. They think their words will save them, when in reality, those words are slowly bleeding away their power. This is where the Stoic mindset draws a hard line. A Stoic would never chase. A Stoic would never beg. A Stoic would never explain themselves to someone who has already chosen not to understand. Why? Because they know something most people don't. Silence is not weakness. It's not surrender. It's a deliberate act of strength. It's a sword and a shield at the same time, sharp enough to cut through manipulation, strong enough to guard your dignity. In a world that rewards loudness, the one who speaks less and chooses when to speak becomes the one who is truly heard. You see, silence is not about avoiding conflict or pretending you don't care. It's about controlling the one thing you can always control, yourself. And here's the paradox. The less you try to prove your value, the more undeniable it becomes. In this video, we're not just going to talk about why silence works. We're going to break it down into 6 unshakable principles that you can start using today. Each one will shift the balance of power in your relationships, protect your peace, and command respect without you having to raise your voice or send another unnecessary message. These are not abstract ideas. They're strategies tested by time, lived by philosophers, leaders, and everyday people who learn that silence can be louder than any argument. So if you've been misunderstood, rejected, or made to feel like you have to earn someone's attention, this is your turning point. Stay with me through every part of this, because you may think you know the value of silence, but by the end, you'll see it not as the absence of words, but as the presence of control. And I'll warn you, once you understand this fully, you can't go back to the way you used to respond. The next time someone tries to draw you into their noise, you'll remember this moment, and you'll know exactly why saying nothing might just be the most powerful thing you ever do. Principle number 1. Silence makes your absence louder than your presence. Picture this. Someone you care about stops responding to your calls. Maybe they've grown distant. Maybe they're playing games, or maybe they're testing you. The instinct for most people is to push back against that space. Send another message, call again, find some reason to bump the conversation just to get a reaction. It feels harmless at first, but with every attempt, you hand them something far more valuable than a reply. Control over your emotions. This is exactly where the Stoic takes a different path. There's a psychological truth called the scarcity principle. When something becomes less available, it becomes more valuable in the eyes of others. Your constant presence, constant explanations, and constant attempt to fix what they broke work against you. They turn you into background noise. But when you step back, when you stop explaining and stop chasing, your absence suddenly becomes noticeable. Think about it. A song playing in the background is barely noticed until it stops. Only then do you feel the silence. Marcus Aurelius understood this in his role as emperor. With countless advisors, soldiers, and citizens seeking his attention, he knew that reacting to every slight or insult would only cheapen his authority. Often, his most powerful response was none at all, not because he didn't care, but because he understood the weight of restraint. The modern parallel is simple. Instead of texting 3 times to ask why someone has responded, you send nothing. Instead of writing paragraphs to defend yourself against gossip, you allow the story to unfold without your input. Instead of chasing someone who is clearly pulled away, you stay still. This isn't about being passive-aggressive. It's not a silent treatment game. It's a conscious decision to remove yourself from a situation where your energy is being undervalued. The paradox is that when you stop chasing, people start wondering. They question why you haven't reacted, why you haven't tried to pull them back, why your attention is no longer guaranteed. And in that moment, the balance shifts. They are now thinking about you, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. The absence forces them to confront their own actions. Some will reach out, realizing they cross a line. Others will vanish entirely, revealing that their connection to you was never built on respect. Both outcomes are valuable because both give you clarity. Silence also serves another purpose here. It creates space for you to measure the relationship without the noise of constant communication. When you're in the middle of chasing someone, you can't see the situation clearly. But when you step back, you start to notice patterns. Do they only reach out when they need something? Do they respect your boundaries when you set them? Do they even notice your absence? Or does it make no difference to them? These are the questions that matter. And you can't answer them while you're busy explaining your side of the story to someone who isn't listening. The key to making your absence powerful is to root it in self-respect, not ego. This isn't about punishing someone or making them feel guilty. It's about acknowledging that your time and presence are valuable and refusing to spend them where they aren't respected. If they cared, they would ask. If they respected you, they wouldn't make you beg for understanding. And if they were emotionally mature, they wouldn't acquire long explanations to recognize your worth. In a culture that confuses constant availability with loyalty, learning to be intentionally absent is a radical act. But it's also a liberating one. Because once you realize that you don't have to fight for your place in someone's life, you stop giving away the most precious resource you have, your peace. Principle number 2, silence clears the noise so you can hear yourself. We live in a world where noise is a default setting. Our phones light up with notifications every few minutes. News headlines scream for our attention. And the opinions of strangers on social media seep into our minds without us even realizing it. When something in your life goes wrong, when you feel betrayed, disrespected, or confused, your instinct might be to run toward even more noise. You call a friend to vent. You scroll endlessly through social media hoping to find a quote or post that matches your feelings. You might even confront the person who hurt you in hopes that talking it out will lead to relief. But in the Stoic way of thinking, that's exactly when you need to do the opposite. The Stoics seek stillness, not because they are numb, but because they know the answers they are looking for don't come from the outside. They rise from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That estimate is shaped in the quiet moments, not the loud ones. When you're surrounded by noise, your perception is clouded by the opinions and emotions of others. It becomes harder to distinguish your own truth from the voices around you. This is why silence is not just the absence of talking. It's a deliberate act of stepping away from the inputs that distort your clarity. Try this. The next time you feel wronged, give yourself 48 hours of true silence. Not just avoiding a conversation with the person who hurt you, but removing yourself from the rush to explain, defend, or justify yourself to anyone. Turn off notifications. Don't seek advice. Instead, sit with your thoughts. Journal them. Go for a long walk without music. The first few hours will feel unbearable. Your mind will race with all the things you want to say. You'll replay conversations, imagining clever comebacks or heartfelt explanations. But then, as the hours pass, something shifts. The emotions start to settle, like muddy water clearing after being left still. You start hearing quieter truths beneath the initial outrage. You realize, they never really respected me. I just didn't want to face it. Or, I'm not upset because they left. I'm upset because I stayed too long. These insights don't arrive in the heat of argument. They arrive in stillness. This is why professional negotiators, military leaders, and even skilled therapists use silence as a tool. It creates space for reflection, for others to reveal themselves, and for you to separate what you feel from what you know to be right. The modern world conditions us to believe that immediate reaction equals strength, that we must speak our truth instantly, confront disrespect immediately, and never let anyone get away with wronging us. But Stoicism flips that script. It says that real power is found in patience, in choosing not to be pulled into every battle, in understanding that not every provocation deserves a reply. Silence lets you respond from your values instead of your emotions. Hurt feelings scream, chase them, prove your worth. But your values whisper, hold your dignity, protect your peace, let them go. You can't hear that whisper in the middle of chaos. You can only hear it when you step back and give yourself the gift of quiet. Over time, practicing this kind of silence rewires your instincts. You stop rushing to explain yourself. You stop reacting to every trigger. You start making decisions from a grounded place, where your actions align with your principles instead of your temporary emotions. And that, in the Stoic sense, is true freedom, the ability to be in full control of yourself, even when the world around you is screaming for your attention. Principle number 3, chasing closure is self-betrayal. Almost everyone has felt that burning need for closure, the hope that one last conversation will make sense of the pain, that if you can just get the other person to understand your perspective, the wound will finally heal. You imagine them admitting their mistakes, explaining why they acted the way they did, and validating your worth before walking away. But here's the harsh truth. If they valued you enough to offer closure, you wouldn't have to chase in the first place. And if they're not giving it freely, it's either because they can't or they simply won't. In both cases, your pursuit is costing you more than it's worth. When you chase closure, you hand over your emotional recovery to the very person who hurt you. It's like giving the keys of your damaged car to the person who crashed it and expecting them to drive it back to you, fully repaired. That's not how healing works. Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. In this context, it means stop telling people why they hurt you and start living a way that proves you've moved beyond their reach. The cycle of chasing closure is predictable. You're hurt, you reach out for answers. They respond with coldness or avoidance. You feel worse. And then you try again, hoping the next attempt will be different. But each time you do this, you reinforce a control over your healing. You're waiting for them to give you permission to move on, and that permission will never come. Not in the way you want it to. The Stoic approach flips this dynamic completely. Instead of seeking closure from them, you decide the story ends now on your terms. You accept that what they gave you is all they were capable of giving, no matter how much you deserve more. You stop expecting a level of maturity, respect, or honesty they've never shown you before. That acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what they did. It means you refuse to let it define your future. One of the most effective ways to practice this is a silent final statement method. You write down everything you wish you could say to them, all the anger, the disappointment, the truth they refuse to face. Then you keep it for yourself or you destroy it. You don't send it. You don't look for a reaction. You release it without giving them the chance to twist your words or minimize your feelings. By doing this, you're reclaiming the power you gave away. You're closing the chapter without inviting their input. You're telling yourself, I am capable of ending this without their cooperation. And here's what happens when you take this path. You stop opening old wounds for someone else to look at. You stop bargaining for a better ending. You stop hoping that the same person who caused your pain will also be the one to heal it. That is self-respect in action. Closure isn't a gift they can give you. It's a decision you make for yourself. And when you make it in silence, you send a clear, unshakable message. I respect myself too much to keep explaining my worth to someone who chose not to see it. Principle number 4. Silence exposes what words conceal. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. The Stoics lived by this truth centuries before Emerson put into words. They understood that words are flexible. They can be twisted, dressed up, or used to mask intentions. Actions, on the other hand, are stubborn. They tell the truth, whether we like it or not. This is where your silence becomes more than just restraint. It becomes a lens that brings the truth into sharp focus. When you stop speaking, you remove the cover that allows people to hide behind explanations. Imagine someone in your life who constantly crosses your boundaries. Every time you confront them, they have a justification. They apologize, promise to do better, maybe even act right for a short while, only to repeat the same behavior later. Their words are convincing enough to keep you hooked, but their patterns tell a different story. The moment you choose silence, not the petty, manipulative silent treatment, but intentional, self-respecting stillness, you remove their script. They can't charm you back with carefully chosen phrases. They can't distract you with emotional performances. They have only their actions left to speak for them. And that's when the truth comes out. The person who values you will notice your absence and work to bridge the gap with consistent effort. The person who used you will simply fade away, revealing that your presence was never important to them. It was only what you provided. The person who manipulated you will likely become irritated or angry, not because you wronged them, but because they lost control over you. Silence in this sense is not passive. It's observant. It gives you the space to see what's real without the interference of their narratives. You begin to notice patterns. Who checks in when you're quiet, who respects your space, who only reappears when they need something from you. That clarity can be uncomfortable. Sometimes you'll discover that someone you thought cared deeply is unaffected by your absence. Other times, you'll see that a relationship you clung to was held together only by your effort. But discomfort is the price of truth, and truth is what sets you free from repeating old cycles. This is why breaking your silence too soon can be a mistake. You might end up back in a loop of explanations and justifications before you've gathered enough evidence about who they really are. The Stoic knows that patience here is power. By staying quiet, you give people the time and space to reveal themselves fully. And when you act, you do so with certainty. Silence hurts in a way words can't, because people can argue with your opinions, but not with your absence. They can dismiss your accusations, but they can't dismiss the fact that you've stepped away. It forces them to face a reality they might prefer to avoid, that their behavior has consequences. And for you, it replaces doubt with clarity. You no longer wonder, did I overreact? Because the truth is now undeniable. You stop needing their explanations because you've seen enough in their actions to know exactly where you stand. In this way, your silence doesn't just protect your energy. It delivers you the answers you were chasing, without a single word exchanged. Principle number 5, not explaining yourself, is the highest form of confidence. There's a unique kind of frustration that comes with being misunderstood. Someone takes a single moment, a single choice, or a single sentence and twists it into something that doesn't reflect who you are. And before you know it, you're spending hours or days trying to undo the damage, writing long messages, clarifying every detail, replaying events to prove your point. But here's the problem. When you explain yourself to someone who has already decided what they believe, you're not correcting their misunderstanding. You're playing inside their frame. And in their frame, you'll always be defending, never leading. Marcus Aurelius warned, don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. When you constantly explain yourself, you're essentially living the shadow of someone else's opinion, handing over your time and energy to shape how they see you. The Stoic alternative is harder, but far more powerful. Stop explaining. That doesn't mean you stop communicating altogether. It means you stop giving elaborate justifications to people who haven't earned the right to hear them. Imagine a leader at work making a tough decision that not everyone understands. The insecure leader scrambles to hold meetings, send emails, and justify every angle in an attempt to keep everyone happy. The confident leader explains their reasoning once to those directly involved, then moves forward, knowing that the results will speak louder than any defense they could offer. The same principle applies in your personal life. When you refuse to over-explain, you signal that your worth isn't up for debate. You're showing that your values and intentions guide your actions, not the fear of being misjudged. And yes, this will make some people uncomfortable. They may call you cold, selfish, or arrogant. But here's the secret. Losing people who can't handle your boundaries isn't a loss. It's alignment. The ones who remain will respect you more, because they've learned that your attention isn't something to be pulled by guilt or manipulated with misunderstanding. This doesn't mean you shut everyone out or refuse to clarify when it's truly needed. It means you're selective. You share your reasoning with those who genuinely seek to understand, not those looking for an opening to twist your words. Over time, this shifts the balance in every relationship you have. People stop expecting you to defend every choice. They start to accept that your boundaries are non-negotiable, and you start to notice how much energy you save by letting your life, not your explanations, do the talking. Not explaining yourself is a discipline. It's resisting the urge to fix how others see you, and trusting that the truth will surface in time. It's letting go of the idea that you can control every narrative about you, and focusing instead on living in a way that aligns with your principles. That is real confidence, not the loud, performative kind that shouts over the noise, but the quiet, steady kind that doesn't need the noise at all. Principle number 6, your detachment in silence teaches the only lesson that works. There is a kind of strength that can't be faked, the strength of walking away quietly. No dramatic exit. No final speech. No emotional text meant to sting. Just a calm, deliberate decision to remove yourself from a space where you're not valued. This is not indifference. It's self-respect in its purest form. And it's one of the most powerful lessons you can teach, not by telling, but by doing. People rarely learn from words, especially if those words challenge their ego, but they sometimes learn from loss. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you step back in silence, you give the other person nothing to react to. No argument to counter, no tone to criticize, no opening to shift blame. All they have left is their own thoughts. In that empty space, they may begin to replay the moments when you were there for them, when you offered your energy freely, when your presence was a constant they could rely on. And now, without that presence, they feel the absence like a shadow. This is when the shift happens. If they were used to provoking you into chasing them, your silence forces them to face the fact that you won't play the game anymore. If they were used to controlling you through guilt, your absence robs them of that power. They may expect you to come back after cooling down, but when you don't, they are forced to realize that you have chosen peace over proximity. This is not about manipulating them into change. It's about freeing yourself from the exhausting cycle of trying to make someone value you. Whether they change or not becomes irrelevant. Because the real lesson is for you. You learn that your peace doesn't need permission. You learn that not everyone deserves an explanation. You learn that caring for your own well-being sometimes means leaving behind people you still care about. The Stoics didn't waste their lives chasing justice from those who wronged them or trying to force growth where it wasn't welcome. They acted on what they could control and let the rest go. Detachment in silence is not about erasing emotion. It's about channeling it into actions that protect your dignity. And here's the unexpected truth. Your silence might teach them more than any confrontation ever could. It might make them realize the cost of taking you for granted. Or it might not. But either way, it will change you. It will make you stronger, more grounded, and more certain of what you will and will not allow into your life. And in the end, that is the only transformation you can truly guarantee. So here's what all of this comes down to. Silence is not about being cold. And detachment is not about refusing to love. Silence is clarity. Detachment is protection from chaos. In a world where everyone is quick to react, the discipline to pause, to withhold your words, to choose your moments, that is rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. Every time you choose not to respond in anger, you are building inner peace. Every time you walk away without drama, you are reinforcing your self-worth. Every time you keep your dignity intact instead of trading it for a temporary victory, you are stacking bricks in the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken. The beauty of this path is that it doesn't require anyone's permission. You don't need them to agree with your choice. You don't need them to validate it. You don't even need them to understand. You are the only one who has to live in your own mind, and silence is how you keep that space clear and free from unnecessary storms. There will be times when you feel the urge to explain, to send a long message, to prove your side of the story. In those moments, I want you to remember this. Your silence may not win the argument, but it will win you back. The people meant to be in your life will not require you to chase them. The ones who truly respect you will never make you beg for clarity. And those who cannot handle your silence were never prepared to handle your presence. The Stoics didn't need applause for their restraint. They lived with the quiet confidence of knowing that their presence mattered even when they weren't speaking. That same confidence is available to you right now, if you choose it. So if you felt something shift inside you while listening to this, if you've recognized patterns you want to break, if you've remembered your own worth, then carry that forward. Let your silence be your final word. Not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of deep, unshakable self-respect. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Comment your affirmation below. My silence is my last word and my most powerful one. When you type it, you're not just leaving a comment. You're making a commitment to yourself. And if you want more insights like this, more timeless truths you can apply in your daily life, subscribe so you never miss a chance to strengthen your mind, guard your heart, and stand unshaken in a noisy world. Because in the end, the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all.